So today is day 30 of the government shutdown, and grocery delivery apps are trying to help out as SNAP benefits are scheduled to run out this weekend, I think November 1st. GoPuff is offering $50 off groceries for those with an EBT with a SNAP card connected to their account. DoorDash is offering one delivery without extra fees this month as well.
And, it's one of the things that people are doing, I think, that is really trying to say, okay, how can we step up? And we know that in Utah, we're doing that. It's happening around the country as well. And there were a couple of things that I saw today with this shutdown. One of them is an editorial by Senator Josh Hawley. So if you're familiar with Josh Hawley, he is he's pretty libertarian. He is Republican, but he's a U.S. Senator from Missouri. And he wrote this in the New York Times, but it was also picked up by the Salt Lake Tribune. And he just says, no American should go hungry. Congress must prevent Americans from losing food assistance. And then top Senate Democrat Schumer said, we would vote for that bill.
Yeah, so tell us what that bill would be. Is this a stopgap or a gap bill?
It's specifically for SNAP, to fund SNAP, even if they can't get the rest of the government open. And this supposedly it's supposed to head to the House floor, and there are 10 Republican co-sponsors to this Hawley bill, including Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins of Maine, Bernie Moreno of Ohio, John Cornyn from Texas. There's several others, of course. And anyway, it's trying to say, okay, look, we're going to at least fund this part so that the people who are the neediest among us can still have food when the weekend comes.
Yeah, and you have to wonder what, if any, progress is being made with the Senate to get back on the floor or have another vote, or what, or if we're going to have to go through the weekend before that occurs.
Well, that's a good question. So luckily we have on the line with us Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent, to tell us what the latest is. Hi, Cami.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's up?
Yeah, so the Senate is voting right now. They're actually not supposed to vote on the continuing resolution that we've seen come up for a vote at least 13 times in the Senate so far, but they will not be voting on that today or any related funding bills. But as you said, they are trying to get that support for different individual funding bills, but so far that support just hasn't accumulated to Republican leadership just yet.
So can you tell us about what those would be? Because we're talking about this Josh Hawley's sort of editorial and where he's headed, and seemingly thinking that Schumer's on board. Can you tell us any of these bills that have some promise?
Yeah, so that one is probably the most promise or most bipartisan support that we've seen so far, especially with the SNAP deadline coming up this weekend. A couple other bills that we have seen are, a bill that would pay some federal workers throughout the shutdown. There's some that want to pay air traffic controllers through the shutdown, but those haven't gotten as much support. But what we're seeing is that a lot of Republican leaders have kind of switched their stance in the last week or so, saying that bringing up these individual bills would only prolong a shutdown. And so we may not see them actually come up for a vote. If they do get a vote, it's unlikely that they actually could get enough support to pass, just because Republicans are kind of switching their stance to say that, funding some parts of the government could prolong the shutdown for at least 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I'm starting to see at least a few news stories that are saying we think there are starting to be cracks. Are you seeing that too?
There is a sense that, we could be getting closer to some sort of agreement. At the beginning of this week, it seemed like all hope was lost that, we would be in this for a while. But at least for yesterday and today, more senators in these bipartisan talks are saying that, they're getting closer. There may be something that they could agree on. There's no details or finalized agreement, of course, but there is a sense that there could be something that maybe by next week there could be something to break this through.
Maybe you answered this already, Cami, but do we know if the Senate is planning to have another vote before the weekend?
So they are not scheduled to vote on anything today, and I think that the plan is they will leave for the weekend, so there won't be votes tomorrow. So it's looking pretty guaranteed that the shutdown will last at least until through Monday.
Is there any indication that Mike Johnson will actually ask House members to return?
He's been pretty adamant not to return. They haven't released their schedule for the next week, but he's been very adamant that they're not going to come back until it is reopened. We've asked him questions, if you have to get a longer CR, and he has kind of closed the door to that, at least for now, saying that even a longer CR would just put us in the same position we're in now. So it's seeming pretty likely they won't come back until something has happened to reopen the government.
Thanks, Cami. That was Cami Mondo, Deseret News congressional correspondent, with not necessarily any promising news, but there is some promising news with respect to some local officials who have gotten together and thought, hey, maybe we could do something to help out with SNAP benefits running out this weekend.
Yeah, so Republican Carolyn Phippen, Democrat Scott Howell, and then KSL podcast host Amy Donaldson are having a contest to see whether Republicans, Democrats, or independents will make the most food donations. Here's Amy Donaldson.
So she must be the independent here.
She is.
I have a friend who told me about picking her kids up from school and not knowing how they were going to be able to feed their kids. And they went to the Mumbai house because KSL did a story saying there was free food. I think they fed like 170 something people. We thought we'd have some fun, but we'd also have some good conversations and really bring some love back into this moment where it just feels like there's so much happening and you can't solve any problem. Well, we can solve this. We have the ability to make sure no one goes hungry. And that's all we're trying to do.
So this is a fun contest. This is to participate. If you want to, you can make a food donation at any food pantry. Take a picture of your donation, tag it, and hashtag it no aisle, like you're not picking sides of the aisle, and then add the hashtag blue for Democrat, red for Republican, and white for independent. So they're just having this little fun competition to see if we can get people across the state donating to the food pantries.
Good for them. I mean, you can't pick a better time to do this because literally we're 2 days away from the SNAP benefits cutting off, and a lot of federal employees are out of work anyway,
and
right
they've
now.
missed their
and
they've missed
a
full paycheck
or two, right? So and the state of Utah just can't bear the $30 million loss that the SNAP benefits are going to be hurting some of our citizens. So there other people are standing up to the plate. It sounds like pretty well.
We've talked about this all week, but it is really heartwarming to see individuals, businesses, companies, people even like the Carolyn, Scott, and Amy getting together and saying, hey, let's do this friendly contest, right? But there are a lot of options for people right now as things are starting to really hit home.
So does it say where to send the pictures? Is there a...
You just do it online, right?
Okay.
And then you hashtag it, and then they can follow by the hashtag, so they can look it up and see, and then they can tally.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they can
That's
tally.
fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Well, I'm gonna do that.
You're gonna donate again. See, now you have to go back
we
to the
gotta
store.
go back to the store
and get some
right.
more. Yeah, that's right.